I think we might be live.
Are we live?
I think so. It says here we're live.
We are live. Got a little Queen going there.
Oh, I know the song.
Yeah. I want to break free.
I want to break free. It's a great song.
It's actually a really good song. It's on that Pride album I downloaded on iTunes.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. I wanted to play a little Freddie Mercury there, a little Queen. I want to break free to start off the show. Hi, this is Two Queers in a Truck, and I'm Jenny-Jaymes Gunn, and my co-host.
I'm Christian Cano. How are you?
Hello, everybody. We seem a little disjointed today. Even the first show, the Coffee and Pandelse, is like we all seemed a little off. I don't know if it's because people are staying up late watching the
DNC.
all the DNC coverage, and of course right after that we're going to have the RNC. And
are you going to watch that?
I haven't watched any of the DNC. I'm going to be honest, I watched a few clips of the DNC, but I've been so busy. I've started a new project this week. I'm training about 2 hours a day. In fact, I'm about to listen to the recording today because the live training's going on right now.
Oh, okay.
But I can watch I can listen to the recorded training later on. They're very flexible, but it's been busy. It's a busy week for me, and it's a transitional week going from some of what I was doing before and kind of idling that and going into this new project. And in fact, I'm going to write about it more later this week once I've gotten through the training. But it's just been a crazy week and a very emotional week. People are, I read on Facebook and I look at, I follow Governor Cooper, our governor of North Carolina's page on Facebook, and I read some of the comments and how nasty they talk about our governor, and even if you don't agree with him, if you're a Republican or a conservative or a religious right-winger, it's not the easiest job to do when we are in, I would say, normal times, or we're in the middle of a pandemic and they're tearing this guy down, and he's done, I think, a above average job. We are one of the top 10 states in the United States as far as flattening the curve right now. We've done a lot better than our neighbors. I mean, South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, the states in the southeast region of the United States, most of them have failed miserably.
Yeah, but we also have to, and Jenny, you know this because there are people. If you look at the demographics of these individuals that are saying these things and doing these things on social media, especially Facebook, because these are generally people between the ages of 40 to 65. They have a lot of time on their hands right now. They're not very happy. I think a person's... There are people that don't have the social media's maturity to understand there are certain things you shouldn't say and certain things you say when you... I don't know how to...
But they just don't have any manners.
No, they don't.
Some of them are so angry that a Democrat is the governor of... They're
just angry people. If it wasn't Governor Cooper, it'd be their husband, it'd be their wife, it'd be their kids, it'd be black people, it'd be gay people. These are just very angry people.
Oh yeah, well I've had them lash out at me too. When I post on there and say, hey, that's not true, or they start lying about COVID numbers and stuff like that. Then I say, that's not true. That they go, hardly anybody goes to the hospital around. I go, no, because I can use Mecklenburg County numbers, for example, and 21% of the people that have tested positive for COVID in Mecklenburg County have required hospitalization. There's no debating that. In fact, if anything, the percentage is actually higher, because the only thing they may be correct on is that some people are testing positive more than once. Because they're going into doing multiple tests just to double check the test. Well, if that's true, then the percentage of people going to the hospital because of it, if the amount of people is twice as high, that means the percentage of people getting hospitalized of it is actually higher. Well, and so the truth is, this is a more deadly disease than first reported, and and most importantly, it is a pandemic. let's just end this conversation that it's manufactured, that it's fake news.
Well,
too many people have gotten it. Too many people have died of it.
But I do think, from a strategic standpoint, because a lot of times you and I talk about this, from a political strategic standpoint, it's not scientific. But if you look at the social media postings over the last month, and we will see it probably for another month, you can see the panic of these Trump supporters.
They know.
They are in a panic mode. They're like their backs up against the wall. They're like a cat who's been thrown in water. Yeah. And so, all right. So we're gonna go. We're gonna start driving. This is two queers in a truck, and we're gonna drive down Providence Road to the Waverly area. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a brand new area of Charlotte. It's actually the biggest Harris Teeter in the chain is in there. It's actually bigger than the Tajma Teeter in the area that we live in. And it actually is a grocery store that has a full-blown bar in it.
No.
Which several of the Harris Teeters have it, but this one has a really big, elaborate one. And before COVID, it had a ton of different hot food bars. It was brand new when I first moved to town. So my 2-year anniversary is next month in Charlotte, North Carolina. And they had been open for a month when I'd moved here. And they were just opening up, and most of Waverly was still under construction when I moved here too.
Yeah, that area has grown so fast just within the last couple of years. It's almost too fast for me. I'm more of a
slow roll.
Yeah, slow kind of roll. I don't like change a lot too quickly.
You are a creature of habit.
So speaking of that, we want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, let's talk about our fill-in for Jeff Stephen, our libertarian candidate. So for the last couple of shows, when we go around the coffee show, and we say introduce yourself and introduce your your imaginary button, he always says something about medical thing. I think I don't really understand what he's saying.
Well, his platform, because he is running for governor of North Carolina under the Libertarian ticket, and he is talking about removing barriers that the government has in place to bring down the costs of healthcare. And of course, and I'm not going to speak for the Libertarian Party. I'm a Democrat, registered Democrat, and but Libertarian philosophy is get the government, not necessarily no government, but get the government out of the way of the private enterprise. They believe in competition. They believe in choice. They want government out of social issues like, if you want to transition, you should be able to transition, things of that nature. And some of that stuff, does make sense. I think our government needs to get out of policing people. If a man wants to marry a man, if somebody wants to transition, that's nobody's business.
Yeah, so that libertarian philosophy, I completely agree with, and that's almost a democratic kind of philosophy as well.
I think it's a human rights philosophy. I think from some aspects, and I think libertarianism tends to be rooted in an overwordy intellectual world that's so theoretical, and not in a cruel way. And not in a cruel way. I mean, because the people that we know, Stephen and Jeff, we spend the most time with those two. They're very articulate. They use the $50 words, they use the really big words. And I think that they are not the mass media party that a Democrat or Republican deal is. Which appeals to the lowest common denominator. That if you're a Democrat, you're a liberal, and if you're a Republican, you're conservative.
And it's more complicated than that.
And they use more of a third-grade vocabulary. Most of our politicians, because they're big tent parties. And the Libertarian Party is still, because of how many people vote for Libertarian, it's still a niche party. And its overall ideas, I think if they simplified it and explained it better, I think their marketing is not very good. And I've said this to Jeff on the show many times, where I think one of the breakdowns is that, from what I understand, libertarianism does not believe that we shouldn't have any government. It's kind of like when kind of like a misnomer, like defund the police. Well, we're not talking about stopping funding police. What we're talking about is reallocating funds that are normally going to the police department to militarize the police and make them so dangerous, and maybe put more into social work and more in community policing and other programs.
Mental health.
Mental health.
Like
you know, programs not only to keep police officers out of harm's way, but also too to actually help the people that live in those areas, instead of just saying, well, let's just lock them up, let's shoot. We've had such a warlike mentality in this country for so long that every answer involves violence, and you get to a point where that stops to work. It's kind of like disciplining your kids. When you get to the point where you're daily beating your kid, the kid doesn't realize what they're even getting beaten for. They just know they're going to get a beating. So, and I think our communities, especially our communities of color, have been so beaten down, and they are so resentful, and they should be. Like, I mean, the numbers, the stats already prove that communities of color get over policed and get hurt at a higher percentage than anybody else. So I think one of the things that we need in this country is a lot of harm reduction, a lot of de-escalation of issues.
What you said is so true, because logic would tell you that we do over police. Let's sit here in Charlotte. We over police off of Central Avenue. We over police off of a lot of Bettysford Road, a lot of other areas, and we under police here in our neighborhood. And the argument is, with people who are for this more police, like Julie Eisel and those who run on those issues, is the reason is because there's so much crime in that area. Well, if you have 10 police officers at one corner, you're going to find something. You're going to find something. And I assure you, if you had 10 police officers on Colony Road, you will find 10 drunk drivers every night. I mean, the truth of it is, if you're looking for it, you're going to find it. I mean, it's human nature to break rules. I mean, not that I'm for lawlessness, but I think when you're randomly stopping people because of their skin color, and that's what's happening. Well, did you? And you see it all the time, where I have these friends of mine back in Amarillo. It's a mixed couple. It's a white gay male engaged to a black gay male, and when they are in Justin's truck, which registered his name, so when an Amarillo police car pulls up behind them, it automatically runs their plates. Like, they can see who the owner is, and they can see that it's a black man. And whether Justin or his partner is driving, that's white, that truck gets stopped more than their other vehicle. And they're they got two nice new vehicles. And they're always surprised if it's the white partner. I'm blanking on his name right now, and I feel really bad. I hope he's not watching. But if the white guy, when he's behind the wheel, and he doesn't hardly get harassed. So here's a question. If you and I were darker, which I'm pretty dark, but if we were darker, we were darker,
you're pretty light.
Would you feel comfortable doing as a trans woman?
Right. If I was a person of color.
If you were a darker trans person of color and I were a darker gay man, would you feel comfortable doing two queers in a truck in other sections of town?
No, I wouldn't.
I just thought of that. I think just us like this with the masks on, driving around. I think if we were in other sections and we were really dark, there would be some police officer that
I'd be nervous in this part of town, because this is a predominantly white South Charlotte area. We're driving through. We're on Providence Road right now, which is, if you're not from Charlotte or you're not watching from Charlotte, it's one of our major arteries of our city. I've been living in the South most of my life. I can tell you that I would not want to be a person of color living in the South.
The reason,
and especially in neighborhoods that are predominantly Anglo or white or Caucasian.
The reason I say
you stand out.
The reason I say that, and not to be, it's kind of humorous, but it's more nervous humor. The reason I say that is because, what's his name? He has a late night show. He's from England, and he does the karaoke in the car driving around with. I forgot his name, but anyway, he's always with someone, and they're in the back, and they're all singing, driving around.
Right.
And I always think to myself, they're driving around Hollywood or whatever, or wherever they filmed that, and they're having a great time. If it was a black late night show host with some black people driving around singing, they would have been pulled over a couple of times during the filming of that.
Well, I mean, the truth is, and you can slice it and dice it any way you want. Yeah. But if you, especially for black people, black indigenous people of color,
we should test that.
Is being white or being fair-skinned like yourself, even though you're a person of color, you're a very fair-skinned person. Yeah, and we both get that white passing privilege. Yes, we're both fairly articulate. We're both we both know our rights. Yeah. We know how to navigate spaces. Like when we go to events, we don't get stares.
Yes,
we get stares for other reasons. Yeah. Maybe because we're kooks and we're both queer. I mean. I get stares for different reasons, but I kind of bring that on myself too. Because the way I dress, but the truth is, I don't have to worry about that because of my skin color. Yeah. I have that privilege. I have that white privilege. And quite frankly, the old school, there was this professor, and I'm blank on her name, and she's a brilliant professor, but she stood in front of a class and asked all the white people in that classroom, that college classroom, would you change places with black people? And nobody would. Yeah. And the truth is, and I've had some white people say, "Oh yeah, I would in a heartbeat." And they get all these extra special rights. I'm like, what? Like what? Dying young? Because the average, the average life expectancy for a trans woman of color is 35 years old in America today. Yeah. And that's a travesty. And that's on all of us, especially white people. That we have to do better when the average death age, the life expectancy for a trans woman of color is 35 years of age. And that their counterparts, that cis women of color, live well into their 70s on average. So they're getting half of a life. I mean, you think about getting struck down at age 35. Yeah. And when you read, if you ever go to the TDOR, the Transgender Day of Remembrance, deal, you see the trans women, especially in the United States, that get killed, they get murdered, they do hate crimes. They're 22, 19, 28. They're young. They're in the prime of their life, and we just haven't done enough in this country.
You said something the last Two Queers in a Truck show that I thought about this weekend, and what you said is when you transitioned to a woman, and I'm paraphrasing, maybe you can correct me how you said it, but it really impacted me because you said it was not lost on me, I don't know if that's the words you used, but that I still had the white privilege. Yeah. Whereas there are people who transition and they've lost any privilege they had before. Well, even though it's you
trans women especially giving up that male privilege, even as a person of color, they're our society is definitely patriarchal. It's definitely male oriented in many ways, and when I gave that up, that was a step back. I did just a lot. There's a lot of advantage to being a white male in this country, but I still was white. I never had to give up my whiteness. I never had to give up the family that I came from.
This is the reason I wanted to talk about this, because I wanted to kind of bleed into what we were going to talk about as far as just me, for an example, financially seems to be we've been better off with when Republicans were president, which I don't think has anything to do with the president.
No, I don't.
But it's just but it's interesting how people identify their successes and failures with the president, because it doesn't really have anything to do with the president.
Well, I think you also got to define, and this is where it gets confusing.
Yeah.
That anecdotally, some families have done better under Trump versus Obama.
Yeah.
But we also have to remember, Trump inherited a rock star economy.
It's not. It takes
tanked over COVID.
It takes a while to get yourself in a position where you can benefit from certain things.
Whereas, Obama walked into the Great Recession and a two-front war.
Yes.
You probably want to turn right or left, because we're about to get real country real fast.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we don't have to, but we can drive through. We can drive through both of these sections.
Yep.
They're both really pretty. Yep. But I digress. But we also have to compare and contrast.
Yeah.
Obama spent most of his first term putting out the bushfires.
Yes.
You know, literally, like the economy. We were still in Afghanistan. We were still in Iraq. We were neck deep in a lot of trouble when Obama became the president in January of 2009. Trump didn't walk into any of that. Like our economy was killing it. Revenue for the federal government was killing it. Everything was. He walked into a very trouble-free country compared to what Obama inherited from Bush.
And he screwed it up.
and he's derailed it. Yeah. By basically saying, I'm going to throw out as much as I can that Obama did. Yeah. For no rhyme or reason.
Other than he's just a spiteful person.
A pandemic playbook.
So the reason I wanted to talk about that was because what you said was very important for people to hear, and especially
right in here is really pretty too. Like, maybe we would see something. I mean, we're the only ones that can see it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
everybody watching us, all y'all can see is our two old bobbleheads moving around and left.
Look at all this construction.
All this is brand new. So we're going to see the actual, the brand new, huge. Like it almost seems like when you, and this is my favorite grocery store in the Harris Teeter chain. It's so big it feels like you're shopping in a football stadium.
Oh wow!
It's just, you get your exercises.
Where do they park?
You go to the right.
Oh, okay.
But this shopping center is really pretty. It's got all these like Roman columns. And some of it looks almost like the Parthenon. I mean, like that building over there is like it's really ornate.
So it's almost like a little town center kind of.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is called Ray Farms, and across the street is Waverly. Yeah. But it is just a few minutes where I used to live before I moved to your neck of the woods in Charlotte. But that's the Harris Teeter right there.
Oh, okay.
And then there's like restaurants, and there's a dance studio here that teaches little kids how to dance.
See, this is too. And just for me, this is too.
This is brand new. Yeah. All of this was being built when I moved here in September 2018. In fact, a lot of these businesses weren't even here. Yeah. These were mostly empty buildings. Yeah. Except for the Harris Teeter, and a couple of these businesses just were opening up when I moved here just 2 years ago. Yeah. So Duckworth's wasn't here. Like, they were just building these buildings. These were empty buildings or were in partial construction. But really cute though, this dance school. So they do their stuff under tents over here.
Yeah,
which I think is so adorable. Because they just didn't want to do indoor classes for the safety of the students. But I think it's a fabulous idea. I'm like, you know, all these, and if you take a right here, we can actually take this road, go straight to the light, and we'll go right into Waverly, which has got all these like little fountains and little play areas, and it's super cute. But one of the
so the reason I was going to say that was because there was a time, even though I think we've kind of passed that time, late 90s, maybe even early 90s, late 90s, maybe even early 2000s. There was a time where people were using the word preference, sexual preference. Yeah. And it was
like it was a choice.
Yes, because there was this thinking that your life, you chose that lifestyle.
They referred to it as a lifestyle, the gay lifestyle.
And it took a lot of correcting people to say, why would I? So basically, what you're telling someone, if you're saying that to someone, is you're saying that I realize, or as you said, the privilege that you had as a white male in America. Right. So for you to give that up only can mean two things. It means that you think that I hate myself so much that I want to put myself through things,
right?
Or that I love myself so much that I want to be who I, how I was born, so to speak.
Well,
does that make sense?
Yeah, anybody in the LGBT community, knows this already. But for the people that aren't, that watch this show, is that we're programmed from birth with a sexual identity and a gender identity. Now, it doesn't always match up to what society thinks we should be. Like, all cis men should marry women and have relations with women.
Are we going
and all that? Yeah, we're going straight.
Right.
We're going forward. Yeah. We're never going to go straight, but we'll go forward.
We're going gay forward.
Yeah, we're going gay forward.
That's right. Yeah.
March on.
That's right.
But I think where people, and this is mostly cisgendered heterosexual people, the cis het normative people that don't understand, and it is hard for them to understand from the fact that they weren't born that way. They were wired a certain way. It's different than us. But at the same time, it is the era of the Google machine. Yeah. And quite frankly, if you actually care, and if you're going to speak about a subject, you should be educated on it a little bit. And when you open your trap and say, I would purposely choose to go through hormone therapy, the eternal harassment that I get in social media and in the street.
Oh, you just want the attention.
And there's nothing, and most of all, going through a second puberty as an adult, going through possible surgeries, corrective surgeries, for the fun of it. Yeah. Like, boating's a lifestyle. Yeah. Camping's a lifestyle. Yeah. Being transgender is not a lifestyle. Yeah. This is not something I would wish on anybody. It is a medical affliction. And then anybody that comes out as a gay male in this country is brave. I don't care if you're 15 or 50. Your coming out story is never going to be fun. It's never going to be easy, no matter which community you're in, whether you're white, brown, black.
The reason I say that, or I wanted to bring that up, is because there is also this same illogical thinking that I hear from Trump supporters and some Republicans that say, you liberals, the only reason you don't like Trump is, for whatever thinking. So I thought about that, and I thought to myself, I was thinking, and I said, and Andrew and I were having this conversation, and I said, we really have, regardless of Trump gets a second term or not, or when George Bush was elected, or when Obama was elected, we have continued to find happiness financially in things that we've done, regardless of who the president is. Right. So if Trump wins, it doesn't mean I'm suddenly going to be poor.
No.
There are people who that may impact, but for us, it doesn't. Now, the social things, we can live. We have the ability to act because of just whatever the case may be. We can go camping with crazy Trump supporters and just blend in, assimilate, and so forth. We may not like it, and we may laugh at each other, but that's just our ability. So the reason that I don't like Trump, or I'm trying to defeat Trump, it doesn't benefit me if he loses, and it doesn't hurt me if he wins. I'm doing it because he's a dick.
Well,
and
we do have to separate. We do have to separate, and I think this is very important.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, financially,
yes,
you got nothing to gain or lose.
Yes.
Socially,
yes,
we do.
Yes,
socially,
exactly.
as a country, and no matter which group that he's gone after.
Yes.
Whether it's been people of color.
Yes.
Women.
Transgender.
Oh,
the federal court overruled it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I saw that recent deal, which was fabulous.
Yeah.
But the social aspects of our society, which are very important, this cultural war that he is
created,
that was there before, but he's made it so much worse. Like the lack of decorum, the lack of that he's tweeting every day. The lack of civility that comes from the White House, it's so unprecedented.
And he has empowered some of his followers to believe that that's something that's normal.
Okay.
And that's why yes.
The issue with the biggest issue I have with Trump is he's normalized hate.
Yes.
to epic levels.
Yes.
Our country was not nearly as divided before Trump.
Mm-hmm.
There is no doubt. You can't. I don't care what anybody says, whether you're a Trump supporter or not. He has changed the conversation.
Yes.
Now, can it go back after he's out of office? I don't know. We're going to find out.
Yep.
I mean, or I hope we find out in January of 2021 when he gets voted out this November. But
So what's our plan B?
There isn't a plan B.
So this is what I was going to say. I was going to say the same way that Jenny said that it's the Republicans that are going to defeat Trump, and which is why, from a strategic standpoint, we've been doing everything we can to damage his brand and make Republicans leave him.
Well, even it's crazy. This is how crazy of times we live in as far as news media.
Yeah. The
report that came out about the Senate committee that looked into the Russian tapping.
They're Republican.
And the Republican, it was a Republican-led committee in the Senate. Yeah. Said, Paul Manafort's guilty of using Russians to tamper with our elections. Yep. And I'm like, this was Trump's campaign manager at the time. And I'm like, holy crap, that's not even a big deal. Yeah. And you would think that would make huge news, but there's so much going on.
So what I was going to say, the plan B is those of us, if he does win, which I strongly going to do everything we can to make sure it doesn't happen, and we need to continue. Yeah. But if he does win, I'm just going to sit back and watch his own party take him out.
Well, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Because someone will take him out. It won't be us.
And there is a debate. I've read several articles on this about Republicans that are going to attempt to run for president after he's out of office that are anti-Trump or they're not Trump fans, and they, because he's hijacked the party. Yep. He's definitely taken it in a direction. Well, they've always been going in this direction. Yeah. But he's amplified it. The Republican Party.
Do you know what I mean by taking him out?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't want to say the words, but I'm not trying to be facetious. But I'm saying is that there's going to be some crazy evangelical Christian who is going to take him out to give Pence the presidency.
Well, I don't know about that. I think honestly,
that's my conspiracy.
I hope not.
Or it'll be some Russian poison.
Nothing good can come of that.
No, I know.
That could set us back in a lot of different ways.
But the reason I'm saying that is that it's not us that's going to do the damage. No.
His own party.
His own party is exact. That's what I'm trying to say.
There's a ton of people that he's hurt in the Republican Party. Yes. And he's coerced people. He's threatened people.
A McCain,
or he diminished a war hero like McCain. Yeah. I don't have to be a Republican to appreciate what McCain did for this country.
Exactly. Yeah.
McCain was a very brave man.
Yes.
A great senator for many years from Arizona. And he's a good guy. He was a good guy. He passed away. And the way, that's such a childish thing. He didn't even go to the funeral.
Yeah.
So
petty.
And he's a sitting president.
He's a dick.
From the same party of a long-time serving senator that was an example of a good man. I don't have anything personally against McCain whatsoever.
But hold that thought. Did you see that girl cutting the grass?
Yeah.
Okay. It looked like she was probably a high school girl.
Right.
So her mama put her to work.
Well, my parents put me to work. We did a lot of yard work. And I made my kids do chores too when they lived at home. That's what I was trying to say. As far as if you want to give me a kid, I could find something for them to do. Oh yeah, there's always something to do.
Exactly.
To me, and I think most parents do that. I think you have to give your kids a certain amount of chores. Yeah. One, because eventually they're going to have to do it for themselves.
Yes,
eventually
exactly.
The whole idea to raise them is that eventually they move out.
Yeah.
And they go live out on their own, and you want them to be well-adjusted adults. And so giving them chores and teaching them how to cook, clean, do the stuff for themselves, because what if they go off to college?
Yes.
500 miles away or 1,000 miles away. You want them to be functioning young adults.
Exactly.
You don't want to be total imbeciles.
Teaching responsibility and so forth.
And also, I'm a firm believer. Like when I tell my kids to clean up the room, and they did, and they're like, "You can't afford me."
Yeah.
Like, if I come in here, I'm going to charge you a lot of money to clean your room. You don't want this maid service.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're like quickly screaming like they didn't have any money to take away. But in their kids' mind, they're like, well, crap. Well, if I have the potential of having money, then my parents are going to take my money because they cleaned my room instead of me.
I've said this several times on our show. I've said that not everyone should be parents.
No, that's definitely not everybody should be president. Trump's
right.
proven that.
So this theory that everyone can grow up and be a president, that's not true, because there's some people that should not be president.
No.
Now, the Constitution said everyone has the right to be president, right?
Yeah, if they make certain stipulations, like there's a certain age.
Yeah, certain age, whatever.
There's a minimum age.
But you have
to be born here, that sort of thing.
But kind of like not everyone has the right to have a business. It's a privilege.
Yeah, but owning a business is a privilege.
Yeah, it's a privilege.
You have to apply for licensure.
Exactly.
You have to figure out what kind of business you want to be.
Hopefully be a good corporate community citizen as well.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the being a social entrepreneur is somebody that's socially conscious.
Yeah.
One is the right thing to do, because if you help your community, it's a great marketing thing. But also, too, it's the right thing to do. You live in this community.
Well, I guess that's what I was talking about. With just because you're a parent doesn't mean that you're a good parent.
No.
I mean, we have some really crappy parents.
I mean, all in all, I think most people do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But you have these few people that, for whatever reason, they decided to procreate.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate.
And it's not. It's not a monopoly with any certain ethnicity or race or religion. In all of our communities, there are people that we look at and go, you should not be a parent.
I know. I've got
people who have anger issues.
I've known
people who can't be patient.
That have, in social circles, it's like, we're thinking about having kids, and you're like, ooh, I wouldn't trust you with a toaster.
Exactly. It's like,
I wouldn't trust you to start a fire in a fire pit. Like,
or what did that congressperson say to Betsy DeVos? I wouldn't trust you with my kids.
No, DeVos is a horrible human being.
Yeah.
And she's never spent a minute in a classroom. She's never. I think she's the first education teacher that's never been a principal, a superintendent, or an educator in the history of the education department. So it's kind of like making you the lead chef and you've never cooked a day in your life.
But that's all.
Literally, she doesn't understand the education system at all, and she is the Secretary of Education for our country.
But that is really all.
But she bought that spot.
Yes, but that is that's something we're going to look back in the history books that on the Trump presidency. Just the crazy people that he's put in position, from a postmaster general, that have absolutely no experience and should not be in these positions. And
or his son-in-law. We don't even know what his son-in-law really does. We know he works in there. We know he's making all these deals and these contracts that seem to be self-serving.
Yeah, they are very self-serving.
But we honestly don't really know what Jared Kushner really does, and everything that we do find out, it sounds bad. Like when the reports come out, you go,
I really wish after, because I've been trying to do this for 3-4 years, but I haven't. Right. I've been able to scratch the surface a little bit, but because of COVID-19, I really haven't been able to get in depth with it. I really hope that after this election, when Trump loses, that we have the ability to deprogram. Or, how when they catch these spies and they pick their brain or whatever. Right, yeah, I really wish that we could sit down with some really hardcore Trump supporters, the ones that remain to the very end, and ask them and give them a truth serum, something to say. You knew this was all going on. You knew the craziness of his family and the craziness of all the crazy stuff he's doing, and you still supported him.
Yeah, but I got an answer for that.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it was the same way with Nixon.
Okay.
Is that they believe that the ends justify the means.
Okay.
That we've turned into a country of communists and
Yeah.
promoting homosexuality.
Because I've heard that on some social media, that our rights have been taken away.
And the queers have got all the special rights.
Yeah.
And all these really crazy...
The elitists, the liberals, all that kind of stuff.
Conspiracy theories that we're selling everything out to China. And we've got such an anti-Chinese deal, which I was surprised because Trump and the NRA take marching orders from the Russians. But, you know, like... We're not afraid of the Chinese communists, but we're not afraid of the Russian communists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, they're not communists anymore, but Putin's basically running the country like a communist nation. Yeah, and he's definitely a dictator. He's well abused the Russian people, and I think what's hilarious is how they just overlook all the improprieties.
Yep.
All the things that have been proven in these testimonies. And the only thing that I can say is they believe that whatever he does in the long run justifies it.
So do you think we will be able to deprogram them and
I think it won't matter.
Yeah, I think they're kooks regardless of who's the president. I just think they've been empowered now.
I think you'll see less of them.
Because they'll go back under the rock.
They won't have their cheerleader in chief saying, you know, go ahead and do this, go ahead and act like an idiot.
Yeah.
Is that you'll have a president in Biden that's just going to say, this is what we're going to do.
Yes.
This is what we got to tackle.
Yeah.
I think Biden's going to be a very pragmatic president.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have to be. I don't even think he has a choice on what he can or cannot be. Like, I don't think.
Hi, I'm just going to do the drive-thru, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think, I literally don't think that there's going to be...
You can just leave that taped up on your mirror, and if you want to back up, you can go into the second lane and pull around these two.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I literally don't think that... I think Biden's presidency has already been decided for him. Like, I think he's going to have so much to tackle, just like the first term of Obama.
Yeah.
You saw more of the social aspect of it, and saw more of the other stuff that Obama worked on in his second term. Because the first term was dominated by war and by economics.
And just trying to fix the crap.
2009, 2010 was pure chaos. I mean, as far as economic and war. Like, you know, in 2011, of course, we captured and killed bin Laden, and that seemed to calm the war stuff down. His presidency was almost over by 2011.
Yeah.
Like the first term was. Like, you know, so the majority of Obama's, you know, and I think Biden's walking the same thing. Like, you know, Trump has deployed troops all around the planet. He's really expanded how many countries we're in over 80 countries right now, occupying and more. We've already had conflicts with Iran, including recently boarding one of the Iranian tankers heading to Venezuela. I think Biden's going to spend most of that term.
It's going to take some time to straighten out all the crap.
And I think one of the big issues is going to be COVID. I mean, I think
that's going to be,
no matter what anybody says and whatever the Russians say, they developed some vaccine that nobody knows anything about, and it hasn't been proven to even work. I really think a widespread or a huge vaccination cure is 2022.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's backed off that
that's
date.
what I think so also.
I don't think 2021 is going to be much different than 2020.
Yep.
People can believe what they want.
That's kind of what I was kind of.
People think they're going to go back to rock concerts and football games
I just can't see how that's going to.
I think we all want to believe that we can go back to doing what we did in 2019.
I think we're setting people up for failure.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I wanted to say about the schools as well, but I didn't. Is that we shouldn't be teaching kids and set them up for failure because they're going to carry that. They're not going to believe us in the future.
I think we need to sit down, and we should have we've wasted a lot of months in this country hoping that the virus would just go away. And it's not. And we need to plan like this is a long-term issue, a long-term challenge, which I think it's going to be. And we need to act as if this is not going away for the next 4 years.
And
plan accordingly.
And I wish I would have said this on the show, but I just thought about it right now. We are doing our children a disservice. By teaching them unrealistic and setting up for failure.
Because we don't know. We don't know if we're ever going to be able to develop a vaccine.
Exactly.
So there is nothing in concrete stone that a vaccine's even going to happen. Look at the flu vaccines. They don't stop the flu. You know, last year we had over 45 million cases of flu just in the United States alone. I personally think COVID's going to be that same way. I think a vaccine's just going to maybe give people a false sense of security. What we're going to find out is that even with the vaccine, we're still going to social distance, we're still going to wear a mask. I mean, they have flu vaccines in China and they still wear masks. So, I think this is our new normal. I think stringing this out and saying, oh, we're going to get this herd immunity, this vaccine's all going to be over, and we're going to have this Hollywood ending. I'm going, no, we've changed forever. There was pre-COVID and post-COVID, just like AD and BC. Like, before Christ and after Christ. And I think this right now is marking our society for the next century. I truly believe, just like the New Deal marked the 20th century, I think the COVID and the Green New Deal is going to forever decide that we have to choose sustainability and infrastructure over these fly-by-night plans. And we have to become a long-term planning nation. There's not a cavalry coming.
Well,
there is no rescue coming.
And I think that's why we are doing...
And I've been saying this for months. Back in March and April, I kept saying, we might not have a vaccine for this. And the vaccine may only partially work. Which means if it only partially works, and or you can never get rid of COVID, or COVID you can catch more than once. Either way, like the scientists are mixed on whether you just keep getting the same COVID, it just flares up like the shingles does. Or you get it and you can be reinfected. But either way, that means, just like the flu, you can get the flu more than once. You can get the flu more than once in the same season. Because there's so many strands of it, and COVID's that same way.
Well,
I think this is forever changing the planet.
I give that. I give that's kind of what my concern is.
I think the days of our 50,000 person rock concerts and football games and
I think
big
they're
gathering,
over for.
I think they're over.
And I think, and that's what's really concerning to me is that children that are growing up, even though I don't have kids, I am concerned about children who are going to grow up not trusting what adults say because they have come through this and their parents are saying it's going to be okay, go back to school, everything's going to be okay, everything's going to be happy. There are times you have to sit your kids down and you have to be realistic. You have to say this is what's going on.
But that again starts at the top. So just like our bodies, we die from. Everybody dies ultimately of brain death. So you die from the head down, not the toes up. There's no brains in the toes. There's definitely none in our genitals. And I tell people that all the time about my gender identity. I'm going, so is gender identity in my brains or in my genitals? So my genitals, my plumbing, do not decide what my gender is. Last time I checked, because I would have made a lot of different decisions if there was brains in my genitals. I can just tell you that over my sexual history. But anyway, I think you have to have leadership, not just the president, but our national Congress too. It's in trickling down to our governors and our state houses. We've got to all sit down and say we've got to be big boys and girls.
And that's what's so
we need to have a discussion
about these college kids.
These college kids, down. But I think one point further, I think we need to take the CEOs of the top 500
Yep.
companies
Mm-hmm.
and have a 1 week long convention
Yep.
and say, let's figure this stuff out.
That's what I was trying
Let's
to say.
figure this
Exactly.
stuff out.
Yes.
Let's be smart.
Yep.
Let's work smart, not hard. Let's work together. Let's depoliticize this COVID thing.
And I think that was the hope that not just Trump supporters had, but I think there were people who maybe didn't support, like I didn't vote for Trump, but there was this small part of me that did hope that because he was a businessman, that he would bring business people together and they could reach.
But that was part of the scam.
Yeah,
First
it
of all,
was
he's not
exactly.
really a businessman.
He's not exactly.
He's a trust fund baby.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
let's get his real history right.
Yeah.
He is not a businessman. He is not a self-made beast.
But there are still Trump people, supporters who believe
$250 million, a quarter of $1 billion. So he started his business career with 9 figures in the bank.
And he bankrupt so many other casinos.
So let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Let's not tout his business career. His business career has been a self-promoting sham.
Yes.
It has been one sham.
He's
he
a
ran
snake salesman.
Ponzi scheme called Trump University, where he stole people's money, thinking they were going to get this real estate education of thousands of dollars. Like each victim, I think the tuition was anywhere from like $2,000 to $12,000. It was ridiculous. It was millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That he was found guilty in a civil court of doing this in a federal court.
Yep.
So he is a scam artist. We've got a president that ran a fake university. I guess that's why he loves the word fake, because he's done it for so long.
Okay, so back to what we talked about earlier. We all know this. We see this. We know this. How do we? I'm going to be interested to hear the diehard Trump supporters who are panicking right now on social media and just really trying to cheer people.
Quiet. I think they just. I think
they're the same people who think they're going to win the lottery one day.
Yeah,
they live in an alternative universe.
I think that this. I think when you talk about somebody's deeply held belief.
Yeah.
Here's one of the issues with attacking somebody's deeply held belief.
Yeah.
This is what's getting progressives in trouble. And I'm talking to people like us, progressives. Is we see their belief in him as a character flaw, and it's not.
Yes.
There are things that he spoke to that I think that they wish America would turn back to. I think they wish it would be like the Reagan type America. That maybe never really existed, but in their mind's eye.
Yeah.
But perception is reality to a lot of people. It is to all of us. All of us have a different voice in the narrative. Like how you got raised and how I got raised were different. Yeah. And we all have a different view of America. That's the cool thing about it. And I think there's a certain amount of Trump people that are of that age, the die-hard baby boomers, that their heyday, their 30s and 40s, their cool years was Reagan's era.
Well, then how do you explain some of these?
And I think they saw him as the next Reagan.
How do you explain some of these millennials? There aren't a lot, but there are some millennials that are also huge Trump.
I mean, a lot of it is, even if you grew up conservative and you stayed conservative, he became the evangelical amplifier of conservative values in the Republican Party. And
it's almost like they want so much to fit in with their own parents, who may be crazy, that they're willing to tolerate it.
I don't want to gloss every Republican or every conservative.
No, because I do think there's a difference between. We have to do a better job of confusing Trump supporters with Republicans.
Yeah, I think there is. I think there is.
Just like I don't think that all progressives are Democrats.
No.
Yeah.
Hey,
and we know that, right?
There's conservative Democrats. There's moderate Democrats. Like, we're a big tent party.
Yes.
And I think all the voices need to be heard, except for the ones that espouse any bigotry on either party, any party, any political party. As long as somebody is not espousing bigotry or discrimination, I think their voices should be heard. I think the only time you shut those down is the moment they say, well, we need to segregate schools, or, we can't trust those Mexicans, that sort of thing. that kind of hate needs to go away.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of brand that Trump promotes.
Yes.
It's like when he referred to that federal judge on the Trump University case, for example, he referred to him as that Mexican judge.
Exactly.
And he evoked his race, and I'm like, what is his job as a judge? And this is when he was presidential candidate, Trump, espousing racism.
So the reason I say that I was interested was because of the fact that yesterday or last night after I finished watching the DNC. Yeah, but I don't want to block this person from being able to go in. My niece from Tampa, she posted how disappointed she was about the leadership in Florida and Texas governors.
Yeah.
Indirectly referring to governors. Because of their lack of leadership on this situation, she is not able to visit family members in Florida and, most importantly, Texas, which is where most of my family is. And she really, because she is a big family, she likes to visit them a couple of times a year. And so she said something like that, and she said, we need to make changes in the leadership so that way we don't repeat this. I'm paraphrasing what she said.
Yeah.
So she said that, and her brother, my nephew, who never really ever posted anything on social media, questioned her statement, saying, how is the leadership in Florida and Texas any different than the blue states? That's what he called them, blue states. He said, regardless of what we would have done, the situation would, of course, it was not based in reality. It was based on what I could tell just by what his comments are, because I know his dad. It's based on conspiracy, reality. It's not, but you know, I
isn't that the only thing they got? So, to me, there's only, when you're talking about COVID, since we're bringing in the subject of COVID again, I think you're on one side of the ledger or the other on this. Like, I think you're either black or white.
Yes.
So you're either a COVID idiot.
Metaphorically, yes.
You either basically
idiot.
Deny that COVID's a real threat, or you see it as a threat, and you see it like we need to do everything we can to contain it.
So the reason I was saying that was because I know that I could just tell briefly, and I haven't really spoken with that nephew in a long time. He's married to a young lady. They just had a kid a couple of years ago, and her family owns like a marina somewhere outside in the Tampa Clearwater area. So they're like your typical privileged, not reality.
Family,
not reality.
They live in an ivory tower.
They don't live in the real world. And I believe because they don't live in the real, they actually believe that their way is the right way because God wouldn't have blessed them with the good things that they've had.
They're blessed and highly favored.
Exactly. So if
which always, anytime that's like a red flag. Anytime I say, when you hear these Bible thumpers exchange greetings, and go, I'm blessed and I'm highly favored, and I'm like, I automatically know there's a good chance we don't run in the same circles.
So, and the reality for him and his wife,
they live in a bubble.
They had nothing to do with their situation. She was born into that situation, and he married into that situation.
Right.
So it's interesting that the people who marry into wealth are born into wealth. They suddenly they take credit for it somehow.
Right.
And because of that thinking, they believe people who aren't in a favorable situation, it must be their fault.
But don't you think a little bit of it is some of it's a lack of intelligence?
Of course it is. That was my point. My point is
a lack of intelligence or a lack of compassion or both. Because the reason why I say this is the COVID idiots lack both intelligence and compassion. Because if you believe that this is a hoax, while 170, 180,000, 200,000 people died of this, and you look at all these people that when you post on there that this is a hoax, and almost everybody in America has a loved one's passed away from it or has been hospitalized by this. So and you call this a hoax.
So the reason I say that, Jenny, is because both of my nieces are college graduates.
Right.
This nephew of mine did not go to college.
Right.
barely finished high school. Well, not barely finished high school, but immediately married into, and the job he has is related to being married and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Okay, so
married into a flow.
yeah. So I saw the thinking.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. But I saw the thinking process.
Personally interviewing for sugar daddies right now.
And then there was a friend of his who also challenged what my niece said, and I looked at her profile too, and she didn't go to college. She was a typical white girl who just probably a partier, and probably has lives off of parents or whatever. I wanted to say something really bougie like, "You are some stupid ass people," but that creates the divide between liberal elitists and another group. They think that,
and this is the thing, and I think, and I do think it comes from the top. So, was social media this contentious 4 years ago when Trump was not president?
No,
in
it was not.
And in our dialogue in general, was our nation, as far as a people's concerned, our society concerned, this angry? I don't think they were, and you have to blame the person that's stirring the pot the most, which is Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
And he has been like a dog with a bone.
Look at them.
Yeah. Like, you need to go around. Go around,
They're
bro.
not going to.
Yeah, they are.
Watch. They're going to pull right into there.
No. You need to go around. We've all been alive.
Like this
you
one
need to
too.
go around.
See?
That's horseshit.
Did you remember this happened last time?
Yeah. They need to put pylons on.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
No.
Because we had to go all the way around.
Oh, I know. We've been in line forever. We haven't even gotten an order, and these people just weasel right in.
Yeah.
And, but I think, when you have somebody that is constantly tweeting, constantly stirring the pot, that's being very presidential, very undignified, and you when you have that great power, you do have a responsibility to be the calm in the storm. And we saw that with Obama.
Yes.
We saw that with W. His speech on the grounds of the 9/11 bombing and all that. How powerful his words were, and even though W was made fun of as being non-articulate, his words that day were very comforting. Whether you agree with his response or not. Which his response was terrible, getting us into a multi-decade
This
war.
person's gonna do the exact same. I don't really blame them, because once one person does it, they think that's what they're doing. But anyway,
it's still weird. Yeah. And they know that the line starts back there.
I mean, common sense will tell you that. So this is what I'm saying. I hope what comes of this Trump experiment, because it's almost an experiment. And we've experimented with someone like Trump. I hope that we will finally come to the conclusion that not everyone has that moral ability that we want a person in office to. We assume when you come to office that you will rise to the occasion. But you got to
start out with a certain level of compassion and
exactly. And so I do think that
you either got it or you don't.
Yes, I do think that that's a question that we start asking, because Republicans have gotten away with it for so long that
certain ones,
certain ones. But then you have someone like McCain, or someone who reminds us that not every Republican's like this. But I do think that as a general population, that we have to start remembering we experimented with someone who we thought would rise to the occasion. And I think we have to go back to that old saying, at least for a while: when someone shows you who they are, that is who they are.
Right.
And so when we have people,
we knew that when he was running.
No, exactly. But there was,
he had moral.
But there was this naivety in us that we really believed. I think there were people who believe, and I think people will say that we just assumed that he would rise like everyone else, that he would rise to the occasion.
But I think
that thinking is so immature.
But I think he also appealed to the lowest common denominator in the conservative movement, and he said, "I'm going to make America great again." And we're going to,
which in itself is racist, because that's under the assumption that
we were great before when we had segregation, and
or that somehow we were not great. That when those brown and black people started, and gay people, they made us ungreat.
Yeah, no matter how you, It came from a space of bigotry.
Yeah, it did.
A lack of compassion, a lack of intelligence, a lack of understanding of what this country really is. And I think that's what gets anybody in trouble, whether it's bathroom Dan Bishop. and I was thinking about this the other day because I came out and started my transition the same year North Carolina passed the bathroom bill, which started the fire that began in 2017 in Texas when they tried to do the same thing that North Carolina did the year before. In fact, they based their bill on North Carolina's bill.
Yeah.
It was very eerily similar. It was named something different. They called it the Women's Privacy Act in Texas, which basically implied that I'm not a woman.
Yeah.
And so you set off this firestorm of hijinks and chicanery by the conservatives, and so you.
What can I get for you?
Hi, can I get a McDouble, a McChicken, a 6-piece McNugget?
What's your sauce?
No sauce, please. A small fry, a basket of fries, a large Diet Coke, and a large unsweet iced tea.
All right, $11.89.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, you know, again, a bathroom bill against the transgender community, for example, lacks compassion and intelligence. I think every time for a black person's right to vote, if you're a citizen of the United States, no matter what your skin color or ethnicity is, you should be able to vote.
Yes.
If you're above 18. No matter what. Like, you shouldn't need an ID, you shouldn't need any gatekeeping, there shouldn't need to do a test on if you know all 50 states' names. Like, the Constitution says if you're above 18, you should be able to vote.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't matter if you've served time, it doesn't matter if you've served in the military. Like, you shouldn't need an extra level deal. The only thing you should do is you be a citizen.
Yep.
No matter how you got there, whether you got naturalized or you're born here or whatever, and you're above 18. That should be your only, deal. And so everybody, the moment they turn 18, should automatically be registered to vote. Yep. We have a little system called the Social Security number system. The moment we turn 18, and that little system, we should boom. Everybody in that system.
I know we've talked about this before, but I do think the millennials are going to move this country forward on those kind of issues. I do think because it's just logical.
And in these discussions, these are wedge issues. Yeah. Everybody should be registered to vote.
Yeah, that makes. I mean, it's just
no matter where you live, whether you live in a prison, whether you live in South Carolina,
and whoever
or
gets
Alaska.
the most, and whoever gets the most vote wins.
Yeah.
How about that?
Really
think
simple
about that.
deals. Where we get into trouble is when we start trying to making sure the right people.
Exactly.
Because the right people go to school here.
Hey, I've been the Democratic precinct chair. My Democratic precinct chair.
Discretion's got us in trouble.
Yeah. My Democratic precinct chair didn't want us to do voter registration in some areas because she was afraid we'd get too many Republicans.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are just as bad. We are just as bad.
Which is bizarre because who is good? It doesn't even matter.
Exactly.
You know, like that's what gets us in trouble is when we start deciding and gatekeeping.
Yeah.
And we see that in the trans community too, where you're not trans enough if you don't do these surgeries or you don't, and people start gatekeeping and start saying this is what defines you and this is what doesn't.
I'm sorry, ma'am. No, thank you.
And we start trying to get into aspects of society that have nothing to do. Oh, it's not all that's good. I never trust McDonald's.
I know.
They screw up orders all the time, but I think that's where we get in trouble. A lot of things and that's what's gotten Trump in trouble. When you think about the stuff that he's done, whether he's tweeted about something or he's actually done something, like the transgender in the military in 2017, where He was trying to reverse a 10-year policy of the military to make sure that transgender people can openly serve. But they've studied it. But this started in the Bush administration. And what a lot of people don't understand is that started before Obama became president.
Yeah.
As they started studying it, making sure that they had protocols, because they're like, we don't want to kick them out. They want to serve. There's 14,000 transgender people. At least there was in 2017.
And I know you said they're the largest employer.
The largest single employer of trans people in the United States. And which 14,000 amongst 1.4 million.
Well, we don't need our taxes paying for their stuff.
Well, yeah, I don't want to pay for your Viagra either, so you shut the fuck up. You know, like my answer is like I don't appreciate Medicare paying for people's, knee replacement
or hip replacement.
Because you didn't take care of yourself and you eat like a slob, so you got diabetes. Yeah. You got type 2 diabetes because you drank too much beer.
I earned that. I worked my whole life.
But you didn't.
I worked my whole life until I got put on disability. And my Social Security.
Nobody earns federal benefits.
Exactly.
They are paid for by the public.
Because you can never afford them yourself.
Because here's one of the most important things.
Yeah.
We should be our neighbor's keeper. Yes. We should help our neighbors.
I just don't want those neighbors.
That's exactly, that was my whole point.
Exactly.
Those people.
Exactly.
The moment we start saying
those people,
and we start othering people,
or you people,
you people lack compassion and intelligence.
You people are always asking for something for free.
Yeah,
you never work for. I worked my whole life at my daddy's farm, and I worked my whole life, and I raised a family, and I did all. I don't know why you people always have to do this. By the way, can I get my free coupons for my?
Yeah, and meanwhile, their adult children, they've got 5 kids.
Exactly.
Getting a big old tax credit.
Exactly.
Even though they're claiming that their taxes. I'm going like, you don't pay taxes. You don't make enough money to pay taxes. And you get a big old EIC credit of like $8,000
or they just started a small company and they deduct every single thing from their taxes.
Yeah. Special accounting.
Yeah. You know.
And Trump's got the same accounting.
Exactly.
There may be a reason why it gets audited all the time.
I told you this before. I have family members in Texas that have their own company and they deduct their boats.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, but the reality is, the moment you apply any issue whatsoever, whether it's COVID, whether it is segregation, no matter what the social ill is, the challenge, the moment you go from a space of lacking compassion and intelligent decisions, that's where we get in trouble.
Yes.
No matter which party it is, whether it's the Democratic Party or Republican, because Democrats have got a bad history about segregation too in the South. We were the party of segregation at one time, a long time ago, but we were that. So both parties have got blood on their hands, the two big parties. Both parties need to realize it's not their money, it's our money.
Exactly,
and start operating from a fact that you're a representative. You're not a leader. Even the President of the United States is a representative of all of us. And should take it as if you are a servant leader. That we vote you in to go do things that help the country. But we don't vote you in to hurt people. And we got to get that out of politics once and for all. The moment you run for office, we shouldn't vote for anybody that stands up on high and says, I'm going to hurt somebody. Even if it's not even an American. Like, I'm going to go after China. I'm going to go after Mexico.
But do you really think we're ever going to get to that point?
I hope so.
I mean,
why not? What keeps us from getting to that ideal? Us.
What keeps us getting?
We keep making excuses and blaming it on others. And it has to start with us.
Yes.
Including Democrats, including progressives that get a little high and mighty themselves and think that they're the only voice in the Democratic Party. And I'm going to say this now to my fellow progressives: just because you don't like Biden and Harris doesn't mean that they're not the nominees.
Well, I will agree with you.
They won.
That's part
of the Democratic Party.
That's what I was going to say on a show before we had to get off. Is that what we have to do, what we as influencers have to do over the next couple of weeks, preferably by Labor Day, but we can go a little bit after Labor Day, is we have to make a, we have to declare and give people permission to accept the fact that we may not have won this particular battle, the nomination battle, but we're winning the war. And as a result of that, we have to say, those individuals who've said, I'm not going to vote for him, how can you do this? Or like Stephen said, because they're feeding into that, how can you do into war?
But he's also,
this.
Stephen's pitching for a different brand.
Oh, of course he is. So
there's a little bit
he's trying to create chaos within our brand, and that's a strategy. I understand that strategy.
Yeah, that's why I didn't even address the whole Harris comment.
And that's a strategy. And so
worry about your own party getting more than 1% of the vote.
But that is a political strategy. And I understand that because it can influence some people. So we basically have to say, because there are some really progressive people that are not going to vote for Biden no matter what you said, but they weren't really Democrat in the first place. Bernie won them over, and they were independents, and they were probably green, but they switched over because they wanted to be part of something that was bigger than what they were before. Well, and so they're hopeless causes. But there are some.
I think there were some Bernie-crats in there. I think there were Democrats that liked what he said.
But those are the people that should have the ability. You should have the ability to reason at the end and say, okay, this is like, we have a neighbor. I'm going to go by their house real quickly.
Okay.
And I know we need to stop here because we've gone over. But this is the type of message that we have to give to individuals that don't understand why we may not have gotten the nomination, and we're still going to push for Medicare for all. It doesn't mean that we have lost the fight or anything. What it means is that we are winning the war.
Yeah.
But we have to understand, like any negotiation, like anything else, with maturity, you understand this is not the battle to fight at this moment. We can't even have this conversation if Trump gets elected again.
Right.
But we can continue the conversation if Biden and Harris win the election.
Well, I mean, and that's exactly what I was going to say, is that I would say a President Biden would entertain a discussion of Medicare for all.
Yes.
And we know that Trump is a hard no.
Yeah.
We know that that's not going to happen.
Yes.
So whatever your hot issue is, whether it's the Green New Deal,
the issue,
or Medicare for all. So specifically with Democrats and the Warren followers, the two most contentious groups that claim that they're progressive.
Yeah.
So if you're a progressive, you want progress. Biden is progress over Trump. I don't think there's a debate on that. We already saw what he was like as vice president. We had 8 years of Obama-Biden. I wouldn't mind 4 more years of Biden-Harris.
Yeah.
I would rather have that than Trump-Pence.
Yes.
And I know that Obama and Biden, you know, they're the ones that started Obamacare.
Yes.
Like, I mean, which was the steps to take us towards a cohesive national plan.
Yeah.
Like, that's the forerunner for Medicare for all.
Yeah.
And I think that started that discussion.
I mean,
that was a big, hotly contested thing in his first term.
If you watched the DNC event last night, they had this guy who's with Be a Hero, which is a huge Medicare for all thing, and he had a video, he gave a thing. It was a very big moment for Medicare for all, because basically what he was saying was that he was supporting Biden, and basically he was saying in a very mature way, we have a better chance of passing this with Biden because we just have to convince him. We have to educate him on the data, and that's really what it's about. Who would have thought?
But really, see, that's a little bit of a misnomer.
Yeah.
We also have to win the Senate.
Yes.
And we have to make sure that the Congress takes up the issue. So Medicare for all has a lot of challenges to it, but it starts with the Congress.
Yes.
But then we also have to have a president that, even if they're not a proponent for it.
I want you to take a picture of these two here.
Okay.
This is where we need to get to, and this is what we can.
I do love that. I love it.
Isn't that great?
So, It says Bernie 2020, and then okay, fine, Biden. Well, I guess
that is what we need. Now, not everyone's going to get to that point, but we need to give them permission. If you're an influencer, and we'll hopefully we'll be talking about this on the coffee show as well.
Yeah.
Influencers, regardless of how we feel, yes, Biden was not my choice. Harris is not my choice. Well, but this is the choice. This is the decisions that we have to make.
But I think that's with any party. There was a lot of people in the Republican Party that were never Trumpers.
Yeah.
But by the time the election happened, they voted for Trump.
Yeah.
And the same way with Hillary, there was some never Hillary people that eventually voted for her. In fact, she got the majority of the vote. And won the popular vote. Yeah. Still didn't become president.
Yeah.
But I think with Biden, after all the never Biden, never Harris people settle down and calm themselves a little bit, and realize we've got better chances with Biden than we do with Trump.
But the way that this is what I was going to say, like just for us,
right?
You and I, and any other influencer, the way to win these progressives over is to shame them.
No.
Is to let them feel comfortable to come back into our. We have to give them permission to give up. It's hard. It's hard for people to do that.
Well, and there's this weird thing that went on in 2016 and a little bit here in 2020.
Yeah.
Is when the primary's over and everybody concedes to the presumptive nominee. Honestly, that's where if you weren't one of the winners, if you weren't the winning team, and you're a true Democrat,
and that's,
I'm going to address Democrats because I'm a Democrat, you're a Democrat, and we've got to say that's our nominee.
Well, this is
the person that, as a collective, this is who we chose.
The reason that
I didn't vote for Biden either.
The reason that I'm going to do everything I can openly supporting Biden instead of quietly supporting him. The reason I'm openly going to support him is because he did what I have asked any other moderate to do. Once you win that nomination, to reach out to the people who didn't vote for you and say, what do I need to get your vote? And Biden
other
reached
people in the party.
Yes,
he immediately reached out to Bernie.
Yes, he reached out to Bernie.
Yeah.
Someone like McCready didn't. Someone like Cal Cunningham has not yet. I think he will because he wants to win it. I'm hoping he will, but he has not yet.
But you do have to be proactive in healing the party. Which Biden has taken the steps, and I think he would have gone a little more further had we not had COVID.
Yeah,
I think what's hurt Biden is the social distancing.
Yes.
Because if you actually follow what he's been saying since he started looking like he was going to be the nominee in March, when he started winning everything, and once Bernie dropped out, and Warren dropped out, which were his two biggest threats, once they dropped out, he started reaching out to them.
Yes, and which was smart.
And Bernie almost immediately endorsed him right after he dropped out of the race.
And that was the smart thing to do.
I'm endorsing this guy. I think and we've discussed things, and we're making things make sense.
Yep.
And I think Bernie sees the same path. He goes, like, if I want Medicare for all and the Green New Deal to pass, I've got to make sure I have a Democrat in the White House because I know I can't work with Trump.
Exactly. Yeah.
Trump's not going to hear of it, and a Republican Senate's not going to hear of it.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter what the House of Representatives say. Like, they can pass thousands of bills, which they did in 2019 and 2020, and the Senate only passed 5 or 6 bills. So,
well, regardless if anybody watches this is a great conversation that we have. This is like weekly therapy for us. For me, at least.
Yeah, I know.
For me,
it is fun. I think we do get a lot of people that watch later
on.
I
can see that they do.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying is that, one of the reasons you do a show...
It's for us, not them.
No, really. I mean, that's what we started the Coffee and Pondusi.
Yeah.
It was really for us. Yeah. And then it became...
a show.
Hey, people want to hear what we have to say. So, that's wonderful. But I think this is a great conversation to have because we're able to say things that maybe other people are thinking and so forth.
But I think in general, and I think especially social media, we need to have conversations instead of name-calling episodes. And, you're a liberal, and you're a conservative, and you hate people, and this, and you're giving this over to the Chinese.
I know, Michael. What are you?
All these wild accusations and stuff like that. at the end of the day, we're no matter who wins in November,
Yep.
we're still neighbors.
Exactly.
We're still part of the
Girl,
same
you stole my
collective.
tagline.
You're right. I mean, yeah, I did steal your
I used that in
tagline.
2016, actually.
we still are stuck with each other. It's not
That's
like
right.
a prom.
Mhm.
We can't just boot you out of the dance. And none of us are going to leave. Nobody. If Trump wins again, I'm not moving to a different country. And if Biden wins,
They're not moving to.
they're
Where
not
are they going to
moving-
move to? Gaston County?
Russia.
Where are you going to move? Russia?
Russia. I mean,
That's the only country they don't like. There's the only country they do like.
Yeah, I mean, which is ironic.
That
how
is
much
crazy.
Reagan
Is it crazy?
railed against Russia,
That's just
which was called
crazy.
the Soviet Union.
That's
at the time.
what I'm saying. That
So
Trump's
bizarre.
well,
It's such a bizarro.
No,
world
that's what
that
I'm
we're
saying
in.
is that Trump supporters really aren't Republicans, because Republicans are
They're
war hawks.
conservatives. So
Yeah, the conservatives.
conservatives are the Trumpsters
Yeah.
are conservatives, but I honestly don't think they know what the conservative
They
movement's
don't.
all about.
Conservative is more social for them.
Yeah,
Republicans
they're
is
more
more
social
fiscal.
conservatives.
Yeah, exactly. It's a difference. Yeah.
Well, and that's a different show.
okay.
But
Well,
bye, everybody.
bye,
Thanks
y'all.
for watching Two Queers on a Track.
See you next week.
Laters.